All right, and now we're going into the meat of the morning session, the panel discussion. And this morning's panel discussion is going to be on Agile and AI, the future-ready playbook for tech-enabled enterprises. Does that sound interesting to you? Yes? Yes, it does? Okay, so feeding off our keynote speech, we are going to see how Agile and AI are going to help create that new playbook for our tech-enabled enterprises. And I'd like to invite the panel on stage, but before that, let me introduce the panel moderator. Yours truly. All right, so let's start off by introducing our wonderful panel. We have quite an experienced, extremely talented panel here. So please listen to their introductions with me, and then let's give them a round of applause as we welcome them on stage. Davina Kern. Davina possesses 26 plus years of experience contributing to the field of human resource management. She has served companies such as Aitken Spence & Company, Mars Holdings, McLaren's Group, David Peary's Group, and presently is the Group Chief People Officer of Hela Apparel Holdings, overseeing both HR and admin functions for Sri Lanka and overseas. She has been instrumental in talent management, competency framework development, restructuring, HR system designs and implementation at large, whilst being a HR generalist, giving leadership to organizations. Davina has worked with Deloitte Consultancy India and was actively involved in HR system design and implementation at MAS at a group level. She has been instrumental in receiving awards for her organizations that she has worked at. Some of these awards are AHRP, Great Place to Work, NBA. She won the HR Leaders Award Talent Acquisition 2018 at the National HR Conference organized by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka. She was recognized as one of the best HR leaders in Sri Lanka by the World HRD Congress 33rd edition in September 2024 in Colombo. She was also recognized as one of the top global HR influencers by the World HRD Congress in February 2025 in Mumbai, India. Davina holds an MBA from the University of Cardiff Metropolitan, UK, a HND holder of the Association of Business Executives, UK, NDHR by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka. She is an associate member of ABA UK, a member of CIPM Sri Lanka, and a member of AHRP. She also serves as a council member of CIPM. She is a certified coach by the ICF and a certified HR auditor. She has earned certifications in strategic HRM by LAHES in US, leadership workshops by Franklin Covey South Asia, assessment centers, job analysis and design, respectively by SHL India and Hay Group India. She has acquired her NLP practitioner certification in the year 2023. Davina is an associate member of the Sri Lanka Institute of Directors whilst completing her board leadership training in August 2024 from SLID. She is a change catalyst who has successfully supported her employers in leading change and acting as a strategic HR partner to the business in changing the HR landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Davina Kern. Have a seat, please. Yes. Our next panelist, Chulanga Perera. Chulanga is the Group Chief Transformation and Technology Officer at Hemas, leading IT, digital shared services, and transformation. He began his career in investment banking before moving into technology and innovation. A dual honors graduate in finance, mathematics, and business administration from New York, he also holds a PhD in information technology. Chulanga has led global high-performing teams as CIO and CTO in leading manufacturing and automotive multinationals, driving end-to-end transformation through technology, cost optimization, data analytics, and digitalization. He also served on the board of a luxury automotive firm and was its youngest globally appointed vice president. Please join me in welcoming Chulanga Perera. And our final panelist, Prasanna Siriwardena, co-founder and CEO. With 3 decades of experience across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, driving strategic IT and information security initiatives in large multinational banking and financial services, and other industries. Proven track record of fostering innovation and delivering impactful business outcomes through cutting-edge technologies. A strong leader with communication skills enabling effective collaboration with stakeholders and cross-functional teams. Ladies and gentlemen, Prasanna Siriwardena. I need a drink of water. That was one heck of an introduction, don't you think? Yes? All right. And I'm sure that our conversation today is also going to be equally enlightening to all of us. Now, the topic is one that we'll be discussing through the day, through the different tracks that you will be taking part with. And we hope that this will generate the right type of innovation in you so that you can contribute better during the day through the different leadership, engineering, and product tracks that you have selected, as well as amongst yourselves generate that conversation that will keep this Agile forum live and take something back with you that will help your organizations be transformative and take up that space in Agile and AI that we require as a country, as wonderful organizations that are deep in new transformations in AI. Yes? So thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be on this panel. I'd like to start with the first question itself to the panel. This is about AI-driven agility, and the focus is on decision-making with AI. So if I start off, I'd like to ask Chulanga to set the context for this, right? What do you think is your perspective on how AI is making an impact on the decision-making capability of non-tech organizations?
First of all, a very good morning, Roshantha, and thanks for having me here. First and foremost, I sort of run away when people talk about AI because it's becoming more of a buzzword without people really trying to understand how do you adopt this into your industries, into the markets that you play in, and whether you can really drive value out of AI, right? A lot of the boards, some that I sit in also, just do AI for the sake of AI. And without understanding that you are going to be left with a lot of run cost. And if you don't have the right amount of data, clean data, what decisions are you going to be taking? AI is only going to be as intelligent as whatever you provide it to be, right? So let's also hypothetically assume that you have enough data, you have the processes, and Roshan, that you have enabled AI models and you are able to take decisions faster. However, AI is only going to recommend what it can do. If you build rigid processes within your organization structure, that's not going to trust what AI is going to give or any kind of model. Again, it becomes failed initiatives, right? Then you bring transformation agents, talk about change management, all the frameworks that are out there in a theoretical way, and realize that nothing works. Then you keep changing people, and you keep putting more and more and more technology and AI, etc., etc. So I think long gone are those days where, as leaders, we have to sort of take cognizant of the fact that AI is only going to enable us based on our maturity. And for me, for my organization, we look at Sri Lanka as a market. 22 million people. What industry are we playing in? And how can this technology enable me to solve a problem or drive value to the end consumer? Because if you are not driving value to a customer or an end consumer, I don't think the end consumer cares too much about what AI or what digital solutions you have in your organization. You all, probably most of you, buy products that we produce. Do you care what AI has told me in terms of product development? Or whether AI helped me do price sensitivity or customer segmentation? I don't think so. So if it's not driving that value, Roshan, that's my take. I think we as leaders, when we are in these kind of forums, we have to think through the practicality of what it can do and use AI to enable us rather than fearing it like me. Then I think that's the recipe for success.
Okay. And now leading into that, what are the practices, Prasanna, do you think that we can now? There are challenges that we face, and some of these challenges are how we engage with AI. We think it's the all, what do you call it, the all solution for everything, and that doesn't happen. And like you said, unless we have these processes in place, we streamline and we become agile in how we deliver the inputs that, or the output that we receive from the AI generated data will not be used in the right way. So Prasanna, these are some of the challenges, but do you see any other challenges that non-tech companies face?
Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us. Let me talk about in terms of the banking and financial industry. Yeah, there are many challenges when it comes to in this context because, as he mentioned, the data and the legacy technologies. But what are the use cases? Now, 5 years, 6 years back, how do you do a credit appraisal? It's all about judgmental call. Yeah. And then the ML came in, BI came in, the machine learning and the business intelligence came into the picture. Yeah. Then it is like we were able to create some models and use it. But end of the day, all the financial and banking industries, what matters is lend money and collect money on time and reduce the NPLs. Yeah. So with the use of AI, this has become like much more efficient than earlier. But the challenges, if you take challenges, how good is our legacy system, or if you take our core banking solutions, if you take our AML, so that is where all our data are stored. Yeah, the challenge is, now for example, you can do whatever AI works as long as the data is there. But if the data is not concise, clean, like cleansed data is not there, you get the wrong output. And the systems, more than anything else, end of the day, we have to collect the data from end users. Now, for example, if you take a bank, the marketing executives onboard the customers. So if you type all their critical information in the wrong field, now, for example, any onboarding platform has something called comment. So when they are in a hurry, none of them go and fill these things on the field level. They write everything on the comment box. You upload into the BI platform or a data lake or data warehouse. When we trying to use this data as the heart of this machine learning, none of this works. So we have to cleanse the data. So awareness is very important. Like the discipline has to be there. These are the main challenges. Now, these are the practical experience that we go through day in, day out. Because when using the right data for the right, you can have all the LLMs, SLMs, and all these models. None of this works if you have the right data set. So these are the critical, functional problems we see day in, day out in this industry. So this discipline has to come in, and the data cleansing has to come in. Like you don't have to wait a longer time to cleanse the data and upload it. When it comes to the lake house, you have to clear it and put it. So this discipline has to come in. These are the main challenges I would say, innovation kept on hold.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And this is a reminder to our wonderful audience. Remember, you can upload your questions. And if you are sharing your questions, you can also just speak up here. There'll be mics handed around. So we have a team that will support you, and I'm sure that this is a point of focus for all of you. Because as specialists in your field, when you deal with the client, one of the nerve-wracking things that happens is they expect results, but sometimes what they provide you in terms of the data is not good to work with. Yes? Raise your hands if you have felt like that. Huh? Frustration sets in when you want to do your job, but you find that what your client is giving you is not helping you achieve the ultimate goal of the client. Yes? Yeah, so now what we need to look at is, are there any places that have done it right? Is there something that has actually been better for both parties, both for the tech and for the client? And what are those things that have happened well? So if you have anything you'd like to share, this is a good opportunity. Share your user experiences, how it has impacted your organization when dealing with clients and dealing with moving towards AI implementation or integration into the processes that we use. So one more question on that side then. what would you see as Chulanga best practices that we can bring in? Or how should we look at that whole problem of how we bring that structure into what people do? I know you mentioned a little bit about, garbage in and garbage out. But then what are the other human-based processes that might need to work on, that organizations may need to work on there?
So I think what I genuinely feel is if you break this problem down and go back to the fundamentals, right? Stop going after those buzzwords, but go back to the fundamentals and say, first of all, are we accumulating enough data? Do we have the right systems in place? Are we governing all of this? Have we upskilled and reskilled our people where we've broken the mindset of AI is going to replace me? Have we worked on that? And I think you have to build a culture of being able to adopt into this sort of dynamic world that we live in. What do I mean by that is, I think if you look at even the Sri Lankan education system, we are from a childhood taught to think inside a box, right? From the day you start, you either go into the math stream, commerce, sciences, and we always have a destination as to what we want to become and accomplish, and that's all, right? You come into the corporate world, the first thing they tell you is, and Davina can add into this, think outside the box. When for 20 years you've been taught to think in the box, and you come in, how do you think outside the box? So you're reliant on being an execution specialist. This is what my JD said. If you now want to implement things on the go, which I used to take from my previous organization, we used to always say, how do you change a tire or a wheel in a moving vehicle? That's the world we live in, right? So those rigid 5-year programs are long gone. In 5 months, that plan has to change. So now if you go down the structure of this is what the process or the JD said, it doesn't work. So go back to those fundamentals and spend a lot of time helping your people understand, as I think Christian also mentioned, AI is only a productivity enabler, right? Use it to become better. It's not to replace you. It is to say that you will have more time to do something more value-adding. AI will do the repetitive things. AI will help you take that decision faster. It's not going to take the decision for you. So focus on people, upskilling them, helping them understand the importance and how to coexist with it, rather than saying we're just going to put an automation solution or AI is now going to tell us how to do price sensitivity, which somebody had been doing for 20 years. Good. So I think those are those structures which we have to set up, aside from what Prasanna said, get your data cleansed, set up your lake, pump in data, and look at this entire thing as a transformative journey than an overnight. When they asked Chulanga, what do you do for a day-to-day living? I said, I go and try to solve problems. And the perception they have is overnight, a transformation guy can come in, like flipping on a switch, and then we've transformed. It actually isn't true. Also, it isn't true if you say this one transformation guy is going to be able to influence change. Then what have the businesses been doing? We have been operationally becoming better. That's the first thing I say. Transformation is a different state of being while you continue to be operationally excellent. So as leaders, please don't pivot for the sake of transformation. Now that you have your data, you've upskilled your people, understand, do you really need to pivot? And what's that right timing? Otherwise, you're going to make this way more complex. Millions and millions of dollars into failed transformation initiatives at the sake of AI and course correcting over and over again.
That's right. So, an idea just popped into my mind. Takes me back to the cartoons of younger days. Voltron and Transformers also, even on the show, they take time to transform, right? It doesn't happen like in a blink of an eye. Yes? Have you seen that? The villain stands and waits until Voltron transforms into that final... Have you seen that? Yeah? Raise your hands if you have seen that. Yeah? Yeah, so then transformation, though we say it's a nice thing to have, it doesn't happen overnight. And then there are use cases where there are best practices that have been implemented, where people have actually changed how they do the processes as well. So Prasanna, would you like to share a real-world example of something that has been there, that you have experienced where change has actually happened in how people do that? Yeah?
I mean, whatever said and done, this has added huge value to the industry, especially the financial and banking industry. Now, 5 years back, we wouldn't detect the NPLs. If I know my NPLs now itself, when I'm onboarding the customer, yeah, my bottom line will be very healthy in 1 year down the line. So we have done that. The NPL predictions is one of the keys. So when we are onboarding it, based on the customer data points, we identify their risks, and we identify his transaction patterns, and we identify his spending patterns. Yeah. So through that, we can do the how fast he will default. What is the probability of default? What is the NPL? What is the probability of this customer goes for NPL? Yeah, and this adds a lot of value into our industry. In addition to that, we are looking at these are small developments, but this has added humongous value into our industry. Now, for example, chatbots. This is the best use case currently available. But voice bot in your call center. And first level of answers, if you can create a voice bot where you can address the first level of customer's request, that saves a lot of our time. And they add a lot of value into our call centers. So that we have done it, and in addition to that, most of the insurance companies, there's a huge problem of submitting duplicate bills. Now, the claims. When you get claims, every month you get about 600, 700 bills. And same prescription, even you can send by changing the name, and he also can say. And especially the bill. Yeah, we can't detect even if you send it or he send it a day apart, we can't identify that.
Yeah.
So we have built a model where we can identify if you submit the same bill, we get about 80 to 90% of accuracy. I think rather than doing it completely manual, this has added a lot of value into our industry, because then we can always go back to the patients and say, this is the same bill, so you have to get the justification. Okay. This is humanly impossible doing it manually. Yeah. Yeah. So the voice bot, and the other one is the document intelligence. This is one area everyone can focus on, because now you get supply invoices daily basis. Like if you take a large organization, the supply payments is a big task. So what we have done is all the supply payments comes into one place, where the document intelligence track these things and extract the data and put it into a workflow saying this bill needs to be paid. So that's end to end, and the supply payment even into the finance. So if you take our entire process, only one human interaction is there just to verify this bill is right. Okay. Rest of the thing until disbursing into the customer account is being automated through this AI. Okay. This is the workflow rule engine and the AI, the large language model being used. So these are the use cases, and especially the hyper-personalized customer requirements, because especially the products based on your spending pattern, based on your portfolio sizes, based on your the other, like for example, your water bill, electricity bill, your spending patterns. We decide, okay, if you have a savings account, next time we will tell you, okay, so you can do a borrowing facility on this level, and we can tell them like what is your down payment, what is your the loan amount that you can borrow. So that's level of, it's not a big innovation yet. These are the real value addition which is coming to our industry, because this was time taking, and like the accuracy was very wrong, because it's a humanly judgmental call every time. Now we have automating this and bringing AI into this has added a lot of value
So we do have some questions from the audience, and I think that's good that we are getting questions as we proceed, because one thing is now, these use cases that we're talking about, sometimes we see maybe is it how it's adopted in Sri Lanka that it's not working, or that maybe the way we are doing it needs to be refined. So one question I'd like to ask from you, and maybe we'll take it later, but I'll just put it forward. Chatbots is old technology, and even with LLM, it's been failing in Sri Lankan companies. Why?
Okay. Chatbot is failing because of the knowledge base. And a lot of hallucination. Now, if you take 1 year back, creating a chatbot was a nightmare, because the hallucination comes, the knowledge base is not there, and the bot goes and read about these boundaries. Now, it is very simple, and there are plugins in all the AI studios are there. It was failing because that is our adoption. Because when people see, now we have seen this, we have done a credit card chatbot just to reduce the volume for the call center. But when people identify this is a AI-based chatbot, because people want this interaction. And now when they see, because we have seen a lot of dropouts as soon as the bot started kicking in. Because people don't like, especially Sri Lanka, people don't like talking to AI bots. Because they think it's usual, because we are very sentimental people. So that is why mainly it's failing, because we have seen it, like if you take our AI-based credit card chatbot, we get about 2,000 requests per month. What we have done is, we have added all the value-added services into these bots. Now you can block the card. You can check the statement. You can add a beneficiary or the statement who has gone in. So lots of services being added into that. So then we see a lot of interaction with these bots. I think there'll be right now the bot is very easy to plug in. I think in another years down the line, there'll be bots embedded into the browser. You don't have to create these bots, because through that bot, now if you say these bots which is deployed in most of the organization, it goes and reads, like you can define the boundary, it goes and read within the boundary and gives you answers. So similarly, if these web browser creators give a bot as a plugin, you don't have to waste your time on these things.
Okay. All right. So I'm just wanting to share with you that I have many questions that are coming up on the chat, which is wonderful. But I'd like to pivot a bit, moving away from the AI part of it and looking at leadership now also. And we'll revisit these questions as we move on. So one thing that we're seeing now, okay, and Davina, happy to have you here. We'd like to just pick your brain a bit on this. Now, when you look at agile leadership, it's a shift. I personally like to call it a mind shift, right? We are not trying to say it's a mindset. It's not fixed. We're looking at a shift. Isn't that right? The whole idea about transformation is that we shift, and that shift happens not in, minute steps. It's a transformative thing that happens. So when you look at that shift from traditional leadership to a more agile version of leadership, and especially if you're looking at the IT sector or even the non-IT sector, since your expertise you can bring in on this, right? So how would you see that, and what would be the perspective that you have, your take on this?
Okay, so thank you for having me, firstly. And I feel honestly a minority because all the tech people are around here and the software people, but I'll try to answer as best as possible from a more leadership and an HR aspect. So two things, I'll break it into two of what you asked me. A is from a leadership point of view. Organizations, and if anyone is at a leadership level here or at a board level, always, we like to be better than we are in the industry, right? So we will always want to have all the buzzwords, like I'm picking from what Chulanga said. So we will want to call ourselves, we are transformative, we are AI-driven and all of that. But sometimes we don't know what we want. So as leaders in the organization, even at the top, I think identifying what your end game is, it becomes utmost important. And also to understand which industry you're playing in and which region you're playing in. If you're a local company or global company, and understand the bandwidth you can get into. Because some of the things that I've experienced in organizations is we go for the high end, and you would have seen, sometimes the systems fail. That is because we don't have the end game in mind. So one thing is understanding your industry and the space that you want to get into, and the time period you want to have to get into where you want as a leadership. And when you're getting into, when I say that's from a more strategic point of view, and when you get into agile or transformation, it's important to understand all this is done. Your customer is human, your employee is human. So you need to understand who your customer is. And you need to understand what your employee base is. Because if you have a generation of more Gen X like me, and you're trying to do a transformative process where your customer base is different, so you need to think long-term as a leader. So when you do that shift, you will have your work changing, your workplace changing, and your worker changing. So that is something that we need to kind of bear in mind when we look at transformation from a more traditional to be more agile. So now, a good news I want to tell you is, the good old days, your finance person was the person in the organization, right? So your CEO couldn't work without your finance person, right? So, of course, tech people were in the background. Then came the whole COVID wave. Again, your finance person, your HR person became the person to kind of work along, right? Right now, you guys are the leaders. You're changing the world. You're changing the space. So if I'm to say your role in this is very, very crucial and critical, I think this is a really good forum in terms of talking about agility in the tech world. So when you have, in terms of your organization wanting to go AI, I think you need to tell your CEO, this is how we need to go. This is the space, and this is the ROI I'm going to bring in from all of these aspects, from a long term, how it's going to fit into the organization, how it's going to affect the customer, how am I going to get the employees. So something sometimes as tech or the CIOs, what we miss is to understand that you're forgetting the HR part of it. Because everything is driven by employees. You can have a super system if you have not made your employees agile and ready to it. So my take on it is, in this transformation journey, you are leading. So be happy about it, you're in the forefront. So make HR your co-pilot. Yeah? So that's something that I want to park on with.
That's a wonderful thought. Don't you think that as the leaders in the game, having HR on your side is a good thing? Yes? Yes. So have that good relationship. Being an HR person myself, I know what it means to be engaged with all stakeholders, and our employees matter a lot. I'd like to do another small, say, agile thing. We have so many questions. I'm going to ask our panel to face a few of these questions, but in lightning round. So more in a rapid fire sequence. So let's look at maybe not large answers, but using a small language model, as to say, and giving smaller answers, right? So here's one question that I'd like to, and Chulanga, this is all your fault because it's the example that you brought in that has generated this question, right? So wonderful analogy that he brought in. was in the context of agile leadership. What are the key takeaways from AI to be that person who can change the tire of a moving vehicle? There you go.
For this.
Maybe a one sentence or two sentence answer.
Being agile, can I pass this on to my other panelist?
Yes.
Can I take it on? Can I take it on?
Davina, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I think the word agility becomes very, very important because it's not only about AI. In anything that you do right now, it's short steps in organizations that you take in anything, any decision you have to make. So having your IT systems or your CIO connected in whatever you do. Now in our organization, we are going through changes. Today we are thinking, tomorrow we are doing changes. So having your AI, your IT, to have AI, you need to have your data in. So to do that, I think you need to have your fundamentals in first to get the data out of it. So having your employees onboarded, trained in terms of quick decisions, it's not necessary sometimes. It's the AI-based decisions itself you have to make spontaneously, right? But helping use of AI helps. If you have to make an announcement in the organization in terms of a quick change, right? Using some of the tools in terms of ChatGPT, because sometimes when you have to make quick calls, and I have faced it myself, when you have to make quick calls and announce to your employees, with so many changes happening, if you start typing what you really want to say, you're going to say something what is in your mind. But use the technology instead to do, because in every organization, as you go, a lot of changes take place. So it's about being agile. From a tech point of view, I think the two of you can more explain. So having the IT teams, having the tech-savvy team, agile becomes very, very important. This forum is all about all of you bring agile to support the business. Yeah?
So if you look at the World Economic Forum, their report in 2020. And in 2020 report, they said the most required skills by 2025 will be on analytics, AI, use of LLM. And so where are we today in terms of the organizations? Because see, we both need to speak the same language if we are to move our organizations forward. And then there's more onus on the HR fraternity to ensure that the staff, the employees, are trained in these aspects as well, right? Chulanga, would you like to comment on that, or shall we move to another question? Because I think there's several nice ones here that will get you going as well. Yeah?
Sure, and yeah. I think maybe I'll just touch upon the mindset, and I think it would be better to answer the audience's questions. First and foremost, she spoke about ROI. So agility is not going and saying a bunch of panelists said go back to the basics, now we're not going to implement AI, because as a publicly listed company, I also have a TSR responsibility, right? Yes. So investors are not going to get excited by going back to the basics. So you have to find that sweet spot in terms of practicality. But in terms of mindset, and I'll tell you where this is coming from. I was taking some notes as I was sitting there and listening to the keynote, and I was resonating with it. And I realized we've moved away from the VUCA world, right? During COVID, I'm sure most of you heard this word and you're familiar with VUCA.
Yeah.
Right? The new terminology that's coming up is BANI.
Yeah.
I don't know if many of you, maybe Roshan, you know. Does any one of you here know what BANI stands for? B-A-N-I.
There might be a prize in it if anyone can say what BANI is. Now go ahead and use your ChatGPT, yes. Google NT and all of those services that you have. What does BANI stand for? It's one hint, it's not rock hard.
Yes.
Anyone? Shout out the answers if you know. What's the B in BANI stand for? It's not that purple dinosaur, by the way. B-A-N-I. Brittle, yes.
Yes.
We have one answer there, brittle. And the A? I can't hear you. Sri Lanka? Come on.
Anxious.
Anxious, yes. It's an anxious world we live in. Yeah? You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. All right? We are seeing waterfalls cascading down sky risers. Never saw that before. Yeah, so there are changes happening that keep us anxious. Now, even traveling today would have been anxious times for people with the roads being closed. Yes? Okay, what does the N stand for? Non-linear. Yeah, we never travel in a straight line anymore. Our goal is always in the distance, but we can never get there in one straight line. So things are happening on a non-linear method. It's moving. It's a moving part. And the I? Can't hear you. You heard it? Yeah.
Incomprehensible.
Incomprehensible. Yes. All right. So, Chulanga, back to you.
Yes, so at least that's one thing they'll take away today, right? So, but in terms of this agile world or the Barney world that we now live in, mindset of a leader is very important. And Davina, I shy away and I dislike using the word manager, right? If you have managers, you've lost the game. Leaders are not by titles. I think you can lead even without having 250 people report to you, right? Because for me, I think for us as leaders in this agile and the Barney world we live in, we need to move away from being decision makers to people who set the context, right? What do I mean by that? The traditional leaders made decisions based on feelings, based on a lot of subjectivity, right? I feel with my 25 years of experience, this is how it's going to be. With all due respect, feelings in a boardroom might not make a lot of sense. Where's the data that's helping you back that up? The way I do shopping is not the way my parents would do shopping. She spoke about Gen X's. We seem to think we have a perception, a false perception of how Gen Zs are with that generational shift. And we are making our products to those Gen Zs without really understanding what's moving.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we have to be sort of agile in terms of giving the direction to the teams, letting go of control without letting go of accountability. So that's the first thing I think we have to do. So we have to move away from decision making as leaders to more giving the context. And then we also have to move away from hierarchy versus data-backed decision. The boss said so, or the CTO said so, so we do it? No, not really. Do you have enough data to back that up? Right? Are we taking decisions based on all the macroeconomic effects? Do we have enough information to take that decision? And if the answer is no, that's okay. That's fine. Go back and figure out how do you get timely data in order to be able to take decisions going forward. Every decision you take, if there's no data backing it, then that's what you as a leader have to say, let's stop. Let's take that decision based on whatever's available with everybody around in the table, but go back and start collecting that data, because data beats hierarchy in today's Barney world, right? Plan less, adopt more. So those 5-year strategies or LRPs will not work. Population is declining, tariffs are increasing, a whole lot of things can happen. So if you are so rigid with your long-term plans and you as a leader don't want to pivot, that also becomes an issue. So that's again that moving vehicle. You have to figure out the practicality of, can you change the tire while it's moving? And who best can do that for you? So that's one. The next one is you have to get comfortable to live in this ambiguous world. And I truly believe, as resilient people of Sri Lanka, we have it.
Yeah.
Look at what we went through, from Easter to COVID to the economic crisis. And here we are still willing to learn, willing to make that change.
Yeah.
And I've worked and lived in multiple different countries, but I've not seen a more resilient bunch of people that come through no matter what, right? So I think we have to learn, even in the corporate world, where we spend most of our time, besides being at home, how to live in that ambiguous world. So I think that's the comfort that we need to get in. And last but not the least, success is not timely delivery. That's not agile for me. If you deliver a product or a project on time, that's not definition of a success. You meet your KPIs, you might get a hefty bonus, but for me, success is, have you solved a real problem for your consumer or whoever you are working towards, enhancing. So if it's not driving value, if it's not relevant, of course, if it's not innovative in today's day and age, delivering it on right time is the wrong KPI to measure. So as leaders, I think if you keep these 5 things and make it very simple, you will start seeing immediate success.
Okay. Prasanna,
can I add into what he said?
All right.
So at the first stage, I said in terms of leadership, driving from traditional to transformative. So the exact point I think Chulanga picked on. If as an organization you're going to be an AI-driven organization from the boardroom, then you need to allow to make decisions based on data and not on feelings again. So you can't have your organization to say that you're a data-driven or an AI organization and your decision-making is still behind. So you need to, that's why I said you need to look at your strategy, what do you want as the end game, and you need to live it. Because even you go on in your own organization on an AI-driven platform and certain information to document read, you can't go behind and say, now can I make this decision? Because it's all out there, like it or not. So that's something that I wanted to add on for the question.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
those two, there is a fundamental requirement for any of these things. First, you need to, like she was mentioning about CIOs and the human resources, that what do they need? For any of those things, you have to learn prompt engineering. If you don't know how to write what you want, none of these engines will give an output.
Correct.
And you will have to fine-tune it, the contextualization has to come in. So teach yourself, teach your kids how to write, how to express yourself. Because we don't come in that background. When we were small also, we don't talk back or we don't express ourselves.
Yeah.
All this model works on prompt. What do you write? And now there are some places called AI for Works. These are the sites which gives you, teach you how to do the prompt engineering. And I think, as a Davina, for a HR perspective, people should learn how to write, how to concise and put the right requirement, what you need to the engine, then only you will get an output. So fundamentally, prompt engineering is the key thing for any of these models to work. Then there comes the data and all other additional peripherals, but prompt engineering is the key.
Yeah. And all right, so now I'm just wondering whether I do need my questions here, because I have so much information coming in from the audience here. So shall we take a few more questions here? Yeah? All right. So this one, this is going to, again, Prasanna and Chulanga. Can you provide some tips, best practices that can be followed to maintain high level of data cleanliness for maintaining an effective AI model?
Okay. The first thing, when you design, for example, I'll take the financial example. First, people need to learn, put the right data in.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, there are fields, there are drop downs, the filling the fields. So these needs to be put in correctly. If you are trying to put the age, put the right age, and the occupation, and your transaction types, all those things needs to be put in right. Because otherwise there's a huge time and effort goes into the cleansing these data. And that's again judgmental call. Now you have, for example, if you have 2 phone numbers, it needs to be mentioned which goes to which. For example, for the FDs, for the fixed deposits, statement and the saving deposits, or the lending. There are separate users prefer. Now, your statement comes into one email address or a SMS, and your lending comes into a different one. Yeah. Or some people like to have both in one. Okay. Likewise, so this data needs to be entered correctly. That discipline has to come in. Otherwise, this model will take long time to work if the data is not cleansed. Okay. Because especially the spending pattern, the transaction data.
All right.
So,
All right. So, Chulanga, would you like to add something?
So I think maybe just taking from that, I look at it a little differently, Prasanna, right? Discipline is important, but when you have, let's say, 5,000 plus employees, how do you ensure everybody does it the same way? It's practically not possible. So then what do organizations do? You go on a massive data cleansing activity. You cleanse your master data. You keep doing that over and over again. But basically what you're doing is, it's a sinking ship. You're just plugging in the holes, right? And you have to just continuously keep plugging. So where I look at it, Prasanna, is I go and baby-proof it as much as possible to say, I do understand that if you just limit the number of characters into a field where you have to put a phone number, you can still put all 7s and it still becomes a phone number.
Exactly. And the dot.
It doesn't work. So now with the help of AI, you can figure out what are those areas in which you have to baby-proof and constrain the field as well. Right? And if you don't do that, and it has to be that two-pronged approach, and this is again going back to the basics, right? While you can have your LLMs and all of that running, if you don't fix this portion of it and you don't baby-proof it, you're making that assumption that all employees in your organization are never going to make a mistake, which is not true.
Yeah. So that means it's up to us also to give them a platform where it leads to less mistakes and avoiding things where garbage can be put in. Yeah. So there, as developers also, there is responsibility that has to be taken. It's not one side only saying that it's the people that are making the mistakes in making the data ugly. Yeah.
Adding into that, like these are the developers, like the core of any software or any organization. Have you seen predictive text? So if you can bring in this predictive text, these are the AI things which you can come into any, like even onboarding, customer onboarding, or anything which you interact with human. If you can do the learning and give the predictive text, people will start using it. Now, when you're typing WhatsApp now, how convenient is it now?
Yeah.
So these are the value addition that you all need to bring in into make the ground level people. End of the day, for us to do the business, somebody has to do ground level business, no? So making their life easy is the key. So bring those predictive texts and suggestions into your, whatever the software you develop, makes my life much easier.
Okay. So we had a question for the panel on risk management. Now yesterday there was an engaging session on the risk that there is when you look at implementing AI solutions and how you have to be aware of it and what we need to do in the right sense. Yeah. Now there was a question from the audience about, now there are several data breaches that have been happening worldwide, and we've seen things happening even in Sri Lanka. So the question was that what can we do to use AI to stop that or bridge this gap, improve security and modernization? And I'd like to ask you to keep it like very brief, okay, so that we can answer more questions here, because there's a whole heap of stuff.
I think this is getting crazy, because now for model to train, you need the data set. And the new PDPA is coming up in Sri Lanka. You have to have customers' consent, use your data to any model. If customer says no, you can't use that data. And there's a customer consent requirement that if we ask you to delete, as an organization, we have to delete the customer's data once we finish the, like, whatever the requirement we provide.
Yeah.
So not having data will take us nowhere. And the GDPR comes in, the PCI comes in.
Yeah.
And now there's ISO 42001 has come up. That is the AI management. So all these, complying to all these governance and compliance framework will take us, I don't know where. So and I can go on this, because especially on the cyber security.
Yeah.
Now, most of our developers, they put the code into general ChatGPT to correct their codes. Recently, one of the financial organizations have identified their admin username and password in dark web. How it happened? some coder has put his code into the GPT engine, and it's been picked up and gone in. That is how, I won't mention the name, that is how they have identified they have got the user credential to get into the environment, and they've been there about months. So these are it's getting most, because I think as an organization, you have to adapt some standard and sanitize this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are going, organization, you can do whatever it is, process-wise. If one developer goes and does this, finish.
Okay. So I'm going to again pivot, because it's like this now. Normally, it will be the tech guys on the sides and the HR will be squeezed in the middle. Now, for a change, we see that the tech guys are in the middle and the HR people on either side. Yeah? So now I'd like to change the perspective. This question is for you, Davina. When making quick changes from leadership perspective, it's fast. But how do we get the team on board?
So it's situational, honestly. A is, I think, even from an HR point of view, you need to ensure that your teams are agile to change, because we are in a world of which we need to make quick decisions. Now, from the apparel industry, you all know the US tariffs which kind of impacted Sri Lanka. So in a jiffy, we had to make certain decisions, and good to our ERP and our IT team, we were able to make quick decisions in terms of how we wanted to move our orders as quickly as possible, right? So ensuring that you have an agile team, and it's a huge responsibility on the HR side of it, and also it's a collaboration and collective effort from IT as well, from the tech side as well. Because I see from an HR point of view, from a people point of view, the interactions or the solutions that can come from IT, there's a little bit of a bridge, I would say. So having that information in hand or saying this is how we can do, I think will make the work environment and the people more agile. So it's having a very agile workforce in your organization, and it's an ongoing thing. Because certain things we can't predict. Even from a data security point of view, certain things you all have to react to certain situation which comes, right? So as much as possible, we have to keep our teams agile. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that. Now, so bit of a change of plan. This panel discussion might be the only thing that we do the whole day, based on all the questions that you wonderful people have put up here. Right? So I just wanted to share one thing, and I'm sure that my panelists will oblige. You see, this is the part where we do collaboration. So there's going to be opportunity during the tea break. You'll be intermingling with our sponsors, but at the same time, please speak to us, our keynote speaker, Christian, as well as these wonderful panelists. Bring your questions to them. You see, I love the fact that Sri Lankans love to use, tech when they have questions, because you try to you want to keep it a little bit sort of distant, but have that wonderful conversation with them in person, because they are there the whole day. So engage with them, ask your questions, and what we would love to do is we'd collate that and see. I'm actually going to share these questions with them. We'll collate it, and RSG is doing something where they are continuously sharing the knowledge and the information throughout. So you'll see the inputs that they give you in the future coming up days, right? So let's do that. And I think we are just about at time. So 3 quick questions, and I'd like you to keep it like really fast, because I'm now eating into the sponsors' time. Okay? But I think this is good, because we have some wonderful stuff here. Now, we were talking about one model that was used, that you said, Prasanna, you used an LLM model earlier in your first response. And so how about agentic AI? You have a use case of using that as well?
What is this agentic AI means is, you define one set of tasks for one agent. Multiple tasks for one agent, that is the agentic AI. That is what it means. So specialize, now for example, credit appraisal. it does only the credit appraisal.
Yeah.
That is, one agent does only that. So combination of that can bring into the holistic picture, but what agentic AI means is specialized job into one. But that is being done, and I mean, even though unknownly, it's being done at this moment because people are using one agent or one bot for one task now. I mean, we can discuss this. So, as you said,
Okay, so here's another good question. All right, now these are very tech. I don't know whether I'm actually speaking tech language even when I read this, right? So
even I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm able to answer, I'll answer.
Yeah. So, what is the process of handling hallucination with parade language models? Shouldn't it be more accurate with small language models?
No, the hallucination can come with any of those models. But the SLMs are the smaller language, the small processing and small. But LLM is the bigger processing power and bigger data processing capabilities and multiple data points. Hallucination can come in any of these things. The best thing is to remove the hallucination is the prompt engineering, and your knowledge base kept it correctly. And you define your boundaries.
Okay.
So within that, keeping inside that, the hallucination can be reduced drastically.
And I actually thought lying down would help with the hallucinations, you know, just resting. But that's me. Okay, Chulanga, how do you see the balance between model accuracy and interpretability when deploying advanced AI models like transformers?
So first of all, I'm not even going to talk about the importance of it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about why there is a discrepancy in it, right? Because if you look at developers, we use a word, and I'm full of words today, by the way. Developers use a word called NIMBY. NIMBY stands for not in my backyard.
Okay.
Right? So that means if the requirements are not given to me, well, too bad. This is what you told me, your URS, this is what it is, I've developed it. I have zero understanding of what I'm doing. I go with purely your user requirement documentation and I develop the model. And then the rest, I think you guys are smart enough to understand what happens with the outcome.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a short and simple answer to this.
Okay.
I think it's about, you know, all of us really understanding what is it that we're trying to solve for, not just going by those user requirements and looking at ourselves as developers, because then you get the answer to this specific question, Roshan.
Okay. Can we take one more question? Yeah? Because I think we had about a 10 minutes gap when we started in the morning. So I'd like to take one more. This is a lovely one. Why would leaders care about agility if AI gets the job done cheaper and faster, even if it's in the waterfall way? You people really know how to get, you know, under the skin. Yeah? So, up for grabs.
Maybe I'll have a crack at it and then pass that on.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I understand the sentiments of that question. But the only thing I would say is, think of it from a practicality standpoint, right? If AI and technology is common to everybody, where's your differentiator? If everybody's using the same hyperscaler, if everybody's using AI bots, if everybody has access to the same large language models, if you do the same training programs, you go to the same MBA school, how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah.
So AI is not the solution. AI is only an enabler, right? So at the end of the day, it's about people who make decisions in terms of how do you use AI to make a differentiation for your product, for your brand, for your offering. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, it's just replicating it, right? I will not have a job, Roshan.
Correct.
AI will tell you how to transform everything. You can put in a problem and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, yes, who cares about agility in today's day and age? These are, again, theoretical things, but I think agility is the ability to take those decisions which the AI is going to execute for you better and faster than what your competition can do.
Yeah. All right.
But I think this audience has to go into a huge paradigm shift. Because now there are you heard, the GitHub Copilot, the AWS Whisperer, because organizations are looking at faster delivery with less people. So people who use these automated coding technologies is the key. Because any other organization, end of the day, looking at ROI. And having 100 people and getting the 60 to 70% of efficiency doesn't do much good for the organization. So I think these developers has to adopt this technology, start using this, because we were testing one product. It does, if you give the task list, it develops it for you. It's not 100% correct, but at least it gives you a 60 to 70% of accuracy, even in the codes. So organization will start looking into these things. I think all the developers, this audience has to start adapting these technologies in larger scale. Otherwise, your job will be at a risk.
Okay. People are getting dumber with AI. Thoughts on this? Quick one.
They are not getting creative. Creativity is going down, but it's not dumber, because you have to have some little brains to understand and even to do the prompt engineering.
All right. So there are so many other questions, but I think we are pressed for time. It's just about 10:50, and what's next on the agenda? What's next on the agenda? You looking forward to it? Yeah, but based on all the questions that you have been sharing, I guess you'd want this to be prolonged. But since we can't do that, what we will do is we'll make sure that our panelists are available anyway to answer your questions, but we'll collate this, share it with them, get their inputs, and maybe as a use group, we can share it with the RSG audience that are here with us these 2 days in the coming days. Does that sound good? Yes? Okay. So can we give a round of applause to our panelists here, please? You see, it also is a perspective that a person takes. Some of these, they are coming from their experience, it's coming from their knowledge, the domain, and also what they have learned about what's happening around them. So yes, sometimes it may differ to what you have as your ideas and what you hold, and that's okay, because there are different perspectives that we take. So in all fairness, I would like to thank the panel, and I'd like to thank the audience for the questions they have posed. I'm really sorry that we couldn't take all your questions, but we will try to make up for it in the coming days. And now I'd like to invite some people here to give away some tokens of appreciation to our wonderful panel. May I have Inoka Dias and Dilum Manimendra from the organizing team on stage. Your applause, please. And can we have a group photo? No, you're there. You're good.